going to use that as well. So we're standing nice and tall. We've got our feet hip distance apart. So that's important that it's hip distance apart, because that's creating an equilibrium through the right and the left leg, which gives us more support for the rest of our body. You want to think about almost drawing the kneecaps up towards your head. So we're creating activity in the musculature system of the legs. We're thinking of this belt around our waist, or maybe we're imagining stopping the flow of water. So we're getting that activity in through the abdominal muscles to provide that stable platform for the upper torso. And then we want to think about this wide collarbone. So we're drawing the shoulders back a little bit. We're opening up the throat, bringing the crown of the head nice and tall. And to start with, we're going to bring our hands onto our waist. We're going to rise up on one foot, doesn't matter which one you start with, and then lower that heel back to the floor. Rise onto the opposite toes, and then lower back onto the floor. So we're lifting the heels away as if we're rising up on toes. We exhale as we rise, inhale as we lower. Engage at the tummy. Keep the spine long. We're going to do this 2 more times, and then we're going to look to raise on both toes, or both feet, make more sense. And for some of you, if you're challenged already on single foot, stay with single foot. When we go with both legs, let's take our hands down by our sides, and we're going to rise the arms as we lift up onto the toes, and that helps us a little with our balance. Some people find it easier for the arms to be out by the side. So you experiment there and see which option, whether it's forward or to the side, works best for you. Of course, you could turn around and put your hand against a wall or hold onto a chair or something like that if you felt that was also supportive for you. So we're going to breathe in this time as we rise onto the toes, and then we're exhaling as we lower down into the heels. And I'm still thinking of that sense of connection through my center, because that provides me with more support when I'm in this unstable position up onto the toes. So we're going to go for 2 more. Take a breath and exhale. And last one, breathe it into rise. And then exhale, lower back onto the heels. From here, we're going to take one arm out to the side. This is my left arm. Then we exhale, reach to the side. So you're creating almost like a banana shape. Inhale, arm tall. Exhale, reach. So while the top arm is reaching to the side, the bottom arm is sliding towards the floor. We've got 2 more. And last one, reach to side. Come back to the center. Now take that right arm, clasp the left wrist where your watch would be. Now imagine you're pulling the arm up to the sky, and then you're coming into the side bend, but you're not going as deep in the side bend this time. So it's almost like you're lifting that whole left side out of the waist. Breathe 3, breathe 2, breathe 1, come to center, sweep the arms down. Now let's do the mermaid reach with a single arm, side bending, and then releasing. And then noticing as we're bending to that side, that free arm is reaching towards the floor. We're going to do 2 more of these. And last one. Exhale to reach. Inhale, reach the arm up, taking hold of the wrist, my right wrist in this case, and then stretch it over to the left, lifting that lower side body out of the rib cage, out of the pelvis almost. It's like the rib cage is lifting out of the pelvis. Breathe for another one, and then come back into the center and bring your hands down by your sides. We're going to keep our knees like this position. So we're in this narrow position in the hip distance. And then we're going to just almost guide the knees forward and then straighten back up again. So we're guiding the knees out in front and then drawing back up again. It's inhale as we bend the knees and exhale as we straighten. We'll do 2 more like that. Think of the tummy engaging as you come back to the tall spine. Excellent. Now from here, we're going to bring the arms into the move, and maybe we might get a little bit lower as we reach the arms out in front. On the exhale, bring the palms back to the wall behind you, so we're active through the back of the arms. Inhale, thumbs up, bend the knees. Exhale, root and grow tall from your feet. Let's do 3 more of these. One more. Inhale, reach the arms. Exhale, press and straighten nice and tall. Crossing the hands across our chest, keeping the feet hip distance. We're going to exhale, twist and look in one direction, trying to keep our hips fairly parallel to what's in front of you. So we're trying to square those hips as much as we can. And then inhale to center. Exhale, rotate. Inhale to center. So when we keep the hips square, you're going to feel you don't rotate as much. So that's going to limit how far we get to twist. And we want to think about the twist coming from our ribs. So as I'm twisting to the right, my right ribs are moving back in space and my left ribs are moving forward. For more challenge, we could have the arms in T-bar. Exhale. Inhale, center. And then let's go for 4 more of these. So you could use this recording over the week if you were feeling a little bit stiff. You could just pop into the recording and do the first 10 minutes before you go sitting at your desk. That's our last one. Relax the arms down. Now clasp your hands behind you. And we're going to think of pressing the knuckles down towards the back of our heels. If you can't clasp your hands, hold on to one wrist, and that will open up through the front of the chest here as well. We're going to take our feet super wide as our mat, and we're going to rotate the toes laterally out to the corners of your room. And then we're going to bend your knees, but we're going to bow and let the arms lift up, and then slowly come back to center. Bend the knees as we bow, and exhale, come nice and tall. So as you're bowing, what will naturally happen is the arms will lift up behind you. So this is really good for shoulder mobility. Inhale down, exhale up. You do 4 more of these. And 3. Last 2. And 1 more. And back nice and tall. Releasing the clasp of the hands. Back to hip distance, so we're turning the toes to be facing square on with your camera. Bring your hands back to your side body here. Now we're going to pour all the weight into our left leg. And then we're going to look to lift the right leg up and tap the toe off the floor. So this is like a tabletop leg. Hold on to a wall or a chair if this single leg is too challenging. Exhale, rise. Inhale, lower. I'm going to do 4 more. And 3. Good work. 2, working on your standing stabilizers. And 1. And then lower that foot into the floor. Now pour all the weight into that second leg. Second leg, the standing leg is doing loads of work. So we float that second leg up and then we tap down. And you may notice one side is happier to stabilize than the other, and that's pretty normal. And the knee is just coming in line with the hip, or you can think about the upper thigh being parallel to the floor or your mat as you lift it up. We've got 3 more. 2 more. And last one. And then lower that foot back into the floor. We're going to do a few roll downs now to get some mobility in through the spine. Hands are going to rest by our side. We're going to gently nod our head in the direction of our chin. Then we're going to exhale round the shoulders and allow the head to keep nodding as we fold the body forward. We're going to bend the knees deeply, but I want you to think about dropping your head and looking back in between your knees. Take a breath in there. Then on the exhale, press strongly into your feet and then slowly start to lift the spine up. Imagining there's a brick wall behind you and you're stacking your spine against that brick wall. Take an inhale to up. Exhale, round and float down. Bend the knees. Inhale. Exhale, come tall. Opening up that posture at the top, opening the throat. 2 more. Folding forward. Softening through the knees as much as is needed. Inhale as the hands touch the floor. And then exhale as we climb back up to that nice, tall, open posture. The next one, we're going to come to all 4s on the mat. So we're going to come down in that flexion. So we nod the head. Fold everything forward, using the bend of the knees to support you. Bring the hands to the floor and then walk your hands out. So we come to an all 4s position. From here, we're going to come into that C curve. So we're opening up through the spine and then we're flattening the spine out. So we're thinking still of that articulation through the spine, that openness that happens through the vertebrae as we come up into the arc, and then we lengthen and flatten out through the spine. So we'll take another 3 of these. And 2 more. We can allow the eye gaze to look forward of our mat so the throat opens here. Last one, rounding up. And lengthening long. Let's stay in this long position here. So you want to think about the core drawing in as much as you can when you're in this long position. We're going to tuck our toes under like this. So we have activeness through the feet. Find that space through your lumbar spine. Draw up through the core. Get soft with your elbows. Take an inhale, and on the exhale, I want you to hover the knees about 1 inch from the floor, and then gently lower and rest the weight of the body back into the mat. So we're going to do that again. So we take a breath in, push into the feet, push into the hands, hover the knees, and then lower back into the floor. Breathe in. Watch when you hover, you don't lose your neutral and you don't end up sticking your bum up to the sky. So we're still in the square box position, and then release it. For more challenge, we're going to try and hold that for a 5-second hold. If it's already challenging, do the single lifts up and down. So we take a breath, we exhale, hover, and we hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, sink and release. Take a moment. Breathe it in. One more set. Exhale, hover. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Drop everything back to the floor. And then you're going to reach your bum back in space. Reach the arms long and come into your shell stretch position. So the bum drops back. The head drops down. Take a full inhale into the back of the ribs. And on the exhale, sigh out the breath. 2 more, full breath in. Exhale, sigh it out. And 1 more, full breath. And exhale, sigh out. From here, we're going to walk our hands to our knees. And we're going to come into this nice tall kneeling position, but I'm going to get you to find your flex band. And we're going to hold on to the band just as wide as our shoulders. So our knees have a fist distance position here between them. And we're still looking, it's like when we started in the standing position, we're still looking for that length from the kneecaps, drawing up, connection through the core, the ribs opening, and the crown of the head nice and tall. So we're still focusing on neutral. Now we're going to breathe in and we're going to lean back and reach our arms out long as we lean back and then come back into the center. So at the moment, my lean back is not very big, but you may find that you can go back a little bit further, and that's great. So you're working within your own ability. Our main focus is that we have the neutral spine maintained. So when you roll back, you don't want your bum to start bending or this flexion happening at the hip, because now we're not working through the front of your thighs. So the whole body stays straight, and it's almost like a hinge happens at your knee joint, and then we come forward. So a lot of working through the core and a big stretch through the front of the thighs and with the hip flexor. So we'll go for 2 more of those. Breathing in as we reach the band forward, and then exhale as the hands come down. Last one. Inhale and exhale, drawing the hands down. From here, we're going to raise the arms up with the band over our head. Then on the exhale, we're going to pull the elbows out wide, let them bend and point towards the floor. And then reach back up to the sky again. So it's an exhale as the elbows come down, and an inhale as we release the band on the top. Working through shoulder joint. Still thinking about connection through tummy. And back up. So I'm avoiding my back wanting to arch or my bum wanting to shift around as I move that band up and down. So we're going for 3, 2, and last one. Press and release it up. Excellent. From here, we're going to step the right foot forward. So you might need to put your hands on the floor to take the right foot forward. That's fine if you need to. Otherwise, slide the right foot forward. Take your band and pop the band underneath that foot. So you've got the band right underneath the foot. I'm just going to step my foot out a little bit wider, but you know that the band is underneath the foot. Then from here, I'm going to cross the band on itself. I'm going to bring the elbows in by my side, tucking to my ribs. Now I'm going to exhale, bring my right elbow in line with my shoulder, and then lower it down. Right elbow, exhale, and lower down. So the flex bands are brilliant to use as a resistance tool. So really good to keep the bones strong. So if there's any osteoporosis as well, this is a really efficient workout to keep the load in the body, which then stimulates the bone. So we're going to do 5 more of these. If this gets too heavy, slide your hand further up your band, or if you want to make it heavier, slide your hand further down the band. And you'll notice we're working on balance here as well in this kneeling lunge. And if the balance is too strong for anyone, you can do this in a standing position. We've got 1 more. And back through our center. Now we uncross the band and we draw that leg back, and then we switch to the other side. So same thing, putting the foot in the band, crossing at the band, tucking the elbows in by our side, and then opening at the elbow and lowering down. Exhale and down. So we want to keep that elbow to shoulder height. Use the exhale on the effort, which is when you're lifting up. 4, 3, good work, 2 more. And last one, lift and lower the arm down. Super. Uncross your band, release it out, and then slowly take your knees back together. From here, we're going to hang on to our band. We're going to come to a seated position. Take the band and pop it around the soles of your feet. So I like to have my band quite wide so that when I get it around the soles of the feet, I've got a good grip around the soles of the feet. And then I'm just pressing my heels down into the mat. I'm coming up nice and long as much as I can. I'm going to turn my thumbs up towards the sky and feed the band through the thumb. And then I'm going to round my spine, so my half roll back. So I'm rolling the pelvis back, and then I'm using the tummy muscles to lift me back up to the tall position. So it's an inhale as I round, and an exhale as I come up. So we know this movement. Next time we round back. So I'm in this half round scooped position. If I come in this position, you'll see me. So I'm not in a straight position, I'm in this round position here. Then I'm going to add a bicep curl. So I'm building tension on the strap as I bring my fists towards my elbows. So I'm working the front of my arms. And while I remain in this scoop position, I'm working into my core. I'm working into all the inner thighs as well to hold me into this space. We're going 5 more with the arms. 4, keep the connection to core. 3, anything in the back, lift yourself a little bit higher. Last one, and slowly come nice and tall. For the next one, what we're going to do is we're going to straighten the legs out super long. So I'm a bit on the diagonal of my mat so you can kind of see what's happening in the back. And then I'm going to reach forward, so I'm holding on to kind of the middle part of my shins on the band. So I've got a really good bit of resistance in the band. I want to sit tall. I can use a block if I can't find that tallness without it. Then I'm going to do a row. So I'm pulling my elbows back behind me, and then I'm reaching out long. So I'm working into those muscles of the shoulder blades, which is going to draw my posture into an upright position. So I know a lot of feedback from clients coming back into the studio and you guys back online is when you've been doing something different and you come back into the Pilates, you start to feel kind of stiff in different places. So a lot of that is that your posture is just being in a different environment. Maybe you're doing lots of walking or tennis. So we're just focusing and bringing the intention back to alignment of posture, taking the body into the most efficient posture we can. And the muscles, as we draw the elbows behind us, there's muscles between our shoulder blades called the rhomboid muscles. And those muscles are really important for our upper body posture. They're really important if you sit at a desk as well, because when they get weak, your shoulders roll forward and your neck juts forward. So we want these muscles to be able to hold the shoulders back in space, which then means that your head has a better platform to be sitting on. So we're going to go for another 4 of these. 3, and then after this one we're going to give the arms a break. 2, and 1, last one. Super. Okay, we'll hang on to our band. So if you have a loop band, which I'll show you, you can use that now. So a loop band is just a full circular band. So it looks like that. Or if some of you did get those flex bands from Lidl, they're a little bit narrower. So you can use that. So you're just going to wrap the band around your thighs. So you put your feet, your 2 feet through them, through the hoop or the loop. Now, if you don't have that, there's no big deal. You take your strap, fix this up, take your strap, put it around the thighs, above the knees, and then just tie it. Usually I double knot it, and then I put a bow on the top to make it easier for me to open it out. So don't put loads of knots in it. But tie it so that it's tight. So we're just creating a loop with our regular flex band there. Okay. So we're going to lie onto our side now. So we lie side lie, and we're going to have our knees bent. Our head is coming onto the floor. We can use something to prop our head if we need it. I've got my heels in line with my butt. I'm going into my normal clams. My pelvis is parallel to what's in front of me. And then I'm exhaling, but now I've brought in resistance of the band. So as I lift that leg up, I'm challenging more into the lateral hip. So I'm building more tone into the outside thigh muscles by this added resistance. And I'm also working into the head of the femur from a bone building perspective. So we exhale as we open and we inhale as we lower. So you can choose to start to maybe layer in some of the band work on nights that I'm not using the band, for example. But if you feel that this is good for you, or you want to work on bone building, then when I'm doing clams and I'm just not using the band on a certain night, you can always just pop this around the thighs, because the movement is the same, the technique is the same, the lineup is the same. So we're going for another 3. You should be feeling this up here now. 3, 2, and 1, and releasing down. Now we're going to lift up and we're going to switch to the other side. So line up your feet, use a block or your hand, and then away we go. So we open the top knee and lower it down. And you'll find, especially when you're using the loops, kind of sets up the pelvis in neutral, because we're working against that resistance. We can't go super wide, so it's hard for our hips to fall back in space. So it sort of lines us up where we need to be. So we're going to go for another 5 and 4, 3, 2, and 1 final one, and lowering down. Well done. Okay, from here we're going to lie on our back. We're going to keep the loop where we have it. So we're going to come down onto our back, but we're going to step our feet as wide as our hips. So now we have to work the lateral thighs against that band all the time. So we're going to try and keep the band and the feet on. So we take a breath, we're going into shoulder bridge. We're going to roll the low back to the mat, and we're going to peel the spine up like we often do. And then we take a breath in on the top, and on the exhale, we soften and lower everything back into the floor, releasing the pelvis out and dropping the pelvis down. So we take a breath. Exhale, roll back. Peel up and notice my knees are not changing position as I'm lifting and lowering. I'm maintaining that connection to my outer thighs by pressing laterally into the band. So I'm probably working about 30% of my ability in my outer thighs. So I'm working a bit, but I'm not working super, super hard. So be careful you don't take your feet too wide and then you're really working into the band and the movement just becomes about the band. So we're still thinking about all our principles of this shoulder bridge as we lift and rise. That articulation of the spine, that nice lift up as we're coming up. We're looking for that ski slope. And then we're melting through the breastbone, softening through the mid-spine, melting through the belly button, and then releasing to find the space underneath the low back, all while holding this open space through the knees. And lift up. And some of you might be thinking, often when I teach this, I will cue, be mindful of the knees and be careful the knees aren't spanning out to the side. So this exercise is a functional exercise because the feet are hip distance and the knees are still in line with the femurs. So when I'm talking about the knees spanning out to the side, I mean this. So the knees are going into a V position. So let's do one more of these wherever we are. Peel the spine up. Take a breath. And then soften and lower everything back down into the floor, releasing the pelvis. From here, keep the band where you have it. Come on to your side. So look, we're in a nice straight line position. So my feet are in line with my knees, hip, and my shoulder. So I want that position to be that nice, tall, neutral position. And then from there, I'm going to hover my 2 feet from the floor. So I've lifted my 2 feet from the floor. And then I'm going to work with my top leg. So I lift my top leg up while I keep my bottom leg hovered, and then I lower it back down again. So the bottom leg stays hovered all the time, and then the movement comes from the top leg. So we lift and we lower. And lift. And now we're working right down into that outer thigh, right from the top of the hip down to the knee joint. We're going to go for another 3, 2, and 1. Now I'm going to keep my bottom leg hovered, and I'm going to now draw my back leg back. So I'm pressing into the band for resistance. I'm working into my butt, and then I come back to center. I exhale, press back. Your head is resting on the floor, your arm or block while you're doing this. So we're going for another 4 of these leg extension, pressing back into the band. Bottom thigh is just hovering in the air. Top leg is moving back in space. For 2, and 1 more. Come back to center. Roll onto your tummy. Rest your toenails on the floor. Keep the band where you have it. Take your elbows wide, take an inhale breath, and on the exhale, gently lift up and feel or watch the shoulders slide down the back. Eye gaze looks forward, we breathe in, and then we exhale, soften to lower. So we're breathing in on the bottom, we're exhaling, letting the eye gaze look forward, the shoulders slide down, the belly and hips and thighs are connected to the floor. And then we lower back down. 2 more like this, breathe in. Exhale, lift the chest, roll the shoulders, hold on the top. and lower it down. One last one, take a breath. Exhale, lift to rise. Inhale and gently release back down. Turn over onto your side, the opposite side, make sure you're on now. Come back with the two legs straight, hover the legs away from the floor. Then we lift the top leg up and we lower it back down. So remember, the bottom leg is hovered and the top leg is lifting up and down. The head is resting on the floor. For more challenge, the hand could be on the side of the hip, or else bring the hand out in front to support your balance. Because the bottom foot is not connecting to the mat, there's more challenge here with balance. So you do you. We're going to do 3 more of these. 2 and 1 more. Now keep the bottom leg hovered. Now send the top leg back for 8 and come back to center. Exhale back and return to center. And press. Last 4. 3, really getting that posterior chain working. 2, and final press. Slowly return to center, release the legs, bend the knees, push yourself up to a seated position. Take your loop or your bands out of the legs, you can keep it looped, and then pop it around your right foot and roll yourself down and straighten that leg up so that the knee is nice and straight. So we're getting a nice stretch into hamstrings here, using the loop. So your leg doesn't have to be here, okay? If you've got good flexibility, that's where you'll end up. But if it has to be out here, and that's where you get the straightness through your knee, that's a better position for it to be rather than up in this position. So you're sensing your own need and your own flexibility, and find that place where you can hold the stretch without the thigh quivering all over the place. Because once it starts to shake too much, you've gone into the stretch too quickly and too far too soon. We're going to guide that leg out to the side so we get an inner thigh. We don't have to go very far out to the side to get that stretch in the inner thigh. Breathe. 3, 2, 1. Then slowly move it to the center. Shift the non-band leg away, which is my left. And then I'm going to send my right across the midline away from the camera so I get the stretch in the lateral side. So we did a lot of work in the lateral side muscles today. Breathing. And then come find your center. Bend the knees. Pop your second foot in your band, or your loop. And then look to straighten out the knee. Have a little move around there. See where the best line is for you to get that stretch in the hamstrings. And breathe in and out. Using the breath to guide the nervous system into surrendering. Then gently move laterally to the side, so you're moving out to the side. Then come back to your center, taking away the non-moving leg, and then guide it across the midline. And this can be quite an intense stretch for some people, so just guide it to a place that you can feel the muscle letting go If you're feeling the muscle screaming at you, you've gone too far into the stretch. So for stretching to be effective and efficient, we need to listen to the body and move into a space that we can both provide stability and a space to release in order for flexibility movements to have an effect on our body. Okay, come back into the center, slowly release our band. Then we're going to turn over onto all fours, and we're going to come into a little bit of a kind of a mindful shell stretch to finish with. So we're going to just drop the bum back. I might actually turn around so you can kind of see a little bit better what I'm doing. So we're going to drop the bum to one side, and then we're going to swish it back and turn it to the other side. So it's like we're creating circles through the pelvis. But not only are we creating circles through the pelvis, we've also got some lovely movement happening in our knee joints, in our hip joints. Wrists, elbows, and shoulders are getting oiled here as well. So we breathe in one half of the circle, exhale the other half. Breathing in and exhaling. We'll do one more in this direction. We can do this on the elbows if we're minding our wrists. So we go the other way. Breathe in. Exhale, swirl around. And swirl. And really letting the ribs swish from side to side. And let's do one more. And swishing to the side. From here, we're going to tuck our toes under behind us. We're going to walk our hands to our knees. And then we roll so that we come up onto our toes. Just want to shift forward so you can see me. And then from there, we're going to push our bum up towards the sky. Slowly walk your hands to your shins. And then we gently come back into that forward fold that we did in the warm-up. We start to stack our spine, coming nice and tall until we open our shoulders back in space. And then from here, we're just going to test our balance. So 2 feet hip distance again. And then let's rise up onto our toes now. So inhale, rise onto your toes, palms up, and then exhale, lower it down. Do that one more time. Rise up onto the toes, and then lowering back down. So ideally, when we've come to the toe rise at the end, you should feel more stable, should feel more balanced, more equilibrium through the right and the left side, which then creates this sense of ease when we're rising up and down onto the toes, because posture is in a better alignment. So give me some feedback